Hello and welcome back to Let's Design Shards, a Minecraft MOBA adventure map. With most of the primary physical terrain features in place, such as the mountains, ravine, and valley forest, it's time to start work on the artificial structures and bases of the shard. It's been a while since our last build, but now that we're back, we'll begin construction of the southern base. Starting with a hole in the ground, I toyed with several circular depressions of varying sizes. Since each base will have a sizable mine shaft leading to the underground paths, I wanted to scope out the inner dimensions of the base before laying down any fortifications. After clearing away the grass, shrubs, and flowers inside what will become the southern base, I began surrounding the future mine shaft with a fence border. I also cleared and leveled the northeastern side of the mine shaft, smoothing the area with dirt before completing the fence border. This will give us a bit more room to work with in the future, holding space for later builds. With the mine shaft area fenced off, I took white wool and began tracing the area for the outer walls, giving what I felt was sufficient width, and bringing the walls up the mountainside. I then used World Edit to quickly clear the area in question of leaves and trees, then worked to tidy up the area, before changing the wool to stone bricks and raising a wall of stone to separate the forest from the cleared base. Moving along outside of the wall, I started clearing away many of the trees and leaves clustered around the base. It took some time to clean the area properly, but the resulting space left us with a nice clearing between the wall and the tree line. Next, I began work on the ramparts themselves. I started by laying down wood planks and bordering them with stairs, then placing a line of stone bricks along the front and back of the wall. I quickly formed the staggered crenellations across the front before moving to where the wall meets the mountainside. From here, I began raising the wall higher, segment by segment, in line with the sloping landscape. Taking planks and stairs, I did same for the walkway, carefully constructing each raised section a piece at a time, and spending a significant amount of time perfecting the slope and design. As I built the walkway, I really had to consider how the ramparts would climb the mountainside. At first, I was intending to have an even pathway of stairs and planks climbing straight up the wall, but I quickly realized that to get an even and climbable path, I would have to dig a steep pathway into the mountainside. While effective, this is not what I had in mind when picturing the base. Instead, I decided on a much grander plan, and built up a stairway in preparation for an eventual construction project. With work on the lower battlements complete for now, I moved quickly up the mountainside. Following the natural form of the mountain, I raised the walls up towards the peak, finally reaching the very edge of the shard. While we may have a good foundation in place, this wall is far from complete. Along this western side, we'll be placing a sizable gateway between two towers, allowing players and NPCs to safely access the forest floor. Here where the mountains and valley meet, an even larger tower will be constructed. This giant tower will act as a major connection point, and the spiraling staircase within will grant access between the upper and lower segments of the base. With the wall snaking upwards across the mountain terrain, several more towers will be placed to fortify the segment, with similar battlements to those far below. A final tower will rest upon the wall's edge here, with a gateway beneath allowing access to the mountain pathway. Moving to the southern end of the base, I began laying the groundwork for a rear wall curving around the edge and meeting up with the forward defenses. Visually, this wall will add a nice aesthetic to the base, as those entering will not simply stare off into the blue abyss. While this will certainly keep players and NPCs from falling over the edge, it will also act as a fortified pathway to the Grand King's Keep, a later construction project, and the final destination for the opposing team. Starting at the forward walls and rapidly moving across the rear foundation, I used World Edit tools and commands to quickly raise the stone brick walls. Repeating the process from the far end, I brought the walls together in the center, forming a thick stone brick perimeter. I then layered and crenellated the far edge of the wall before hollowing out the top layer of brick and then filling it in with water. This allowed me to quickly lay down wood planks by using the Replace Water command from World Edit. Continuing on, I moved down the wall and added some increased detail in the form of wood stairs. Not only do these stairs add some visual quality, they also give players additional height when peering over the wall. This way, players can stop and view their surroundings, then gain superior coverage and protection from the high battlements when continuing down the walkway's core. Since this rear wall serves as a secondary line of defense, I provided a higher crenellated layer along the inner segment of the wall, protecting players and NPCs as they travel to and from the King's Keep. It was then time to begin work on our first tower. Marking off the tower's center point with a piece of stone brick and clearing part of the wall, I began constructing a winding wooden staircase. After reaching what I felt was a sufficient height, I double-checked my placement to ensure the staircase lined up with the design and started to form the framework of the tower itself. As I worked, the tower took shape. Layer by layer, brick by brick, I formed the entryways and strengthened the structure. With the skeletal form finally in place, I filled the outer gaps. Moving outside the tower, I began to add additional layers to the form, giving way to a more cylindrical design. After thickening the tower even further, I started adding open windows to give those inside a better view of the surrounding landscape. I carved a staircase down into the tower and formed an entryway inside the base. Moving up this pathway, we can see the well-lit interior form and the dividing junction separating the two wall segments. Pulling away from this, we get a real sense for the tower's internal structure. I then moved on to form the wall's interior pathway, cutting windows so those inside can peek out and spot or strike incoming hostiles. Once pleased with the spacing of torches and the design of the openings, I used the stack command to send my design far down the wall. I purposely made sure the distance between the wall interior and exterior was 2 blocks thick, as this meant I could dig into the wall, creating patterns and adding some additional depth and design to an otherwise bland surface. It took some time, but I eventually obtained the look I was going for. Moving once more inside the walls, I started to seal off the interior segment, adding an additional interior layer to the wall. This layer also serves to enhance the visual quality, again bringing more depth to the base. Here we can get a good look at the forward battlements. I've spaced torches to provide consistent light, and the ramparts have plenty of room to move and to fight. The inner layer protecting the interior walkway also slopes up with the terrain, keeping the design intact as it connects with the mountains. Now inside the curving rear wall, I started to hollow out an interior pathway, which also connects with the tower and from there, the forward wall. Carving through the stone, I formed an internal structure of torches, windows, and wood, giving plenty of vision to those within. As indicated before, this passageway will lead directly into the King's Keep. This keep will be a massive fortified tower, reaching high above the base, and will serve as the team's primary hub and base of operations. Waves of NPCs will spawn from the barracks within the keep to occupy and defend the battlements, and then move forward towards the hostile base. Additionally, players killed on the battlefield will be able to respawn here at the end of their death timers. This keep will feature shops to buy individual items and team upgrades, allowing the players to improve not only themselves, but their NPCs as well. At the top of the tower will sit a grand throne room, and here will reside the king. Guarded by elite soldiers and strong defenses, the king is a serious force to be reckoned with. The throne room will be the final destination of the opposing team, as defeating the team's king brings victory and ends the match. With the king well defended and hard to reach, it will take skill and teamwork to successfully assault the fortress and defeat the opposing side. Moving along the wall and up through the tower, we can see I've capped the turret, constructing and designing an open platform from which one can look out over the shard. While I unfortunately did not capture the construction of this upper segment, I will be sure to include this when building the tower connecting the valley to the mountains. Underneath the outer wall, I've built a framework that supports the structure as it juts out over the blue abyss. Moving away from the shard and looking high, we can see the unfinished wall stretching across the mountainside. We've accomplished a great deal, and before long we'll be finishing the upper wall, laying down our towers, and completing the entryways to the base. If you've enjoyed this and you want to see more, leave a like, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.